Good evening and welcome to this evening's seminar. Our seminar is entitled When to Sell Your Investments, or rather when to sell your stock. My name is John Salvatore. I'm a trained accountant. Academically, I've worked as an accountant as well, especially as a corporate controller, and I've also worked as a financial advisor. So I have some information, and training into learning how to deal with companies' financial statements and income statement, balance sheet, which actually helps me to pick investments well, which is basically what everybody tells you about. All the plethora of material on how to buy a stock, but they don't tell you when to sell that stock. That's what this seminar is all about. First thing I want to ask everybody knows the old adage, buy low, sell high. Why does everybody do usually the opposite? They usually buy high and sell low. Has a lot to do with what I consider psychological barriers. And that's the first issue that we're going to talk about today. Psychological barriers. They prevent us from making good decisions when it comes down to selling a stock. In essence, we always end up doing these systematically predictable things that prevent us from selling the stock on time. Okay? We need to get past these barriers. Overconfidence is one of them. Gitman, Joink, and Smart have done studies, and they found out that 43% of men and 28% of women usually hold on to investments too long, and they end up losing money probably, or at least not making the kind of money that they would like. We need to get past that. The second one has to do with loss aversion. No one wants to admit when they make a mistake. They don't want to admit that they made a bad decision to buy a stock. So what do? They hold on to the stock, hoping to avert that loss, hoping to make it a gain at some point. Usually that never happens. I always suggest getting rid of it. You made a mistake, admit it. That's a psychological barrier. Next one we need to discuss is, what was the purpose for your investment in the first place? Was it to put a down payment on the house? Were you saving for your child's college education? Was it a speculative investment, something that you wanted to get a big gain out of? That helps you determine how long you actually should hold on to that thing. Did your investment meet those objectives? Or have things changed in the world that are not going to make those investments meet their objectives? Let's think of one in particular, AOL. Everybody always knew that one. You've got mail. What happened with AOL? Email is going the wayside because the trend has changed. There is no more email, basically. It's starting to go downhill, and no one's using email from AOL so much anymore. So if you held on to AOL stock, you probably got pummeled. You held on to it too long. Loss aversion again on that one. And the last one we need to think about is planning ahead. We need to think about when we should actually be selling that stock. Let's put some parameters in place in the beginning when we first buy that stock. What if we bought a stock at $10 and within a couple of weeks it moved up to $12? You already got a 20% gain. Your target price on that stock was $14. Wow, you're halfway there already. Maybe something's up that made the stock go up quickly, but might make it go back down. In order to lock in your gain, I suggest putting in what we call a stop loss order. That will help you to set a price at what that stock should actually, if it does dip, it'll automatically execute that trade to make sure that you lock in your gains. It's better than ending up holding on to it too long and actually suffering a loss. So, that's one of the things to do. And also, when you have a hot stock, you never know what's going to happen with that thing. People could just be jumping on it because it's a fad. So again, put in that stop loss order. It stops you from losing money. Okay. Now, once again, let's go over the three things that the three items that you should think about when to sell the stock. First one is psychological barriers. In review, let's get rid of that overconfidence, and let's take a look at that loss aversion, and let's be honest with ourselves, and let's get past those psychological barriers. The second one is the purpose of your investment. Has it met its objective? Is it still meeting its objective? If it's not, then you need to, review the stock, or the investment and figure out, maybe should move on to something else at this point. And last is planning ahead. Let's put some strategies in place to make sure that we lock in our gains and don't throw them back to the market. Let's make sure that we stop loss on those orders to make sure that we keep our money. Okay? I used to be a corporate controller for a very smart guy that worked in the auto parts industry. He was one of the nation's largest wholesalers. And he basically was selling a commodity. Everybody was selling the same thing, an auto part. So in his industry, it wasn't what he sold the part for. It was more or less, the only way he had an advantage was what he bought that part for. He would buy things at a lot lower prices than everybody else. That's how he made money. That's not how it works with investments. With investments, it has a lot to do when you sell your investment. You buy it at a particular price. If it's still doing exactly what it should do, let's sell that investment. Make sure you lock in your game. That way you can buy low and sell high. Now, this concludes our seminar. I'll be walking around to answer any questions, should anybody have any questions, and also to take some of your comments and let me know what you think about investing in general. Thank you very much for your time. Have a pleasant evening.